Hi guys, I'm Brian, and this is completely transparent. Today, I want to talk about being an introvert. For a long time, well, most of my life, I've been one of these people that I do well on my own. I'm one of these people that is okay being without anyone around. In fact, big crowds don't appeal to me. And understand this: when I say I'm an introvert, it's not that I'm afraid of crowds. It's not that I'm afraid of people. It's not even that I hate people. Sometimes I do question how God can love people, but but I don't hate them. It's just one of those things where I don't have to be around people. I don't need social interaction always. Um, so I'm an introvert. I'm an INFJ. If you guys have ever taken the Myers Briggs test, which that's something I sought out. I stumbled across it one day and I started digging. I started really seeking it out, trying to understand what the Myers Briggs was. Took the test and I came out as an INFJ, which is one of the most rare personality types in the world. And the reason it's rare is just because we're kind of intuitive. INFJ stands for IN is introverted, F is feeling, J is judging, and I tend to have a really strong intuition. Like I can see someone, I can tell you where they're going to go, the path they're going to walk down, what's going to happen to them. It's really crazy. It's like sometimes it's like I can tell the future, and all it is it's just kind of a it's kind of a process of evaluation. You just kind of look at someone, listen to them talk, feel their personality type, and you go, okay, I can see where this person's going. It's like you're just introverts are typically deep thinkers, and so that's me. I'm typically a very deep thinker. I don't just take shallow things. I don't like chit chat and stuff like that. I like deep conversation. Um, So, I was raised up in a pastor's home, and I was one of those guys that I was on stage every week. I had to do a lot of things in crowds, and I think the rest of my family did really well with it. My mom and dad were up on stage; they loved it. My dad was an amazing pastor. Um, my brother and sister did really well with crowds, as far as I could tell. But me, I tend to like the one-on-one time. I don't feel like I need to be the center of attention ever. For me, it's more of I can do things on my own, you know. And I'll give you some examples because maybe you experience this too. When I work out, I have buddies that have asked me to work out with them, to join in with workouts. I have no desire to do that. Um, I personally want to work out on my own. So when I go to the gym, it's just me. I'm one of those that wants to put on my headphones. I don't typically want advice. I've read up on what I want to read up on, and that's it. I just want to work out and be alone in my feelings. So something like that. And then at group situations, I've noticed like when I go to church, um, I do. It's hard for me to go into church and really get social. I'll go in, I'll shake a few hands. There's a few people I really enjoy being with and shaking their hand, but it's very hard to get me out of my comfort zone to go in and just seek out 20 people and shake their hands at the end of church. It's kind of like, it's over, let's go. And I'm not trying to be rude. It's not anything where I don't like anyone. It's just I'm done being around people after I've been at church for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Um, I'm not a big sports fan because typically it's all about the crowds. It's all about loud noises and center of attention and stuff like that. I have zero interest in sports, which is something we'll talk about later. But for the most part, when you're an introvert, a lot of introverts like to read. A lot of us are like to do those activities that are alone activities. A lot of us are artists. I like to read books. I love woodworking. I can go in the garage, put on my headphones, or sometimes I just want to listen to nature and just be alone and create. I like to, when I'm driving, sometimes I'll turn off everything and I just drive. I don't necessarily need noise. Um, but that's all part of being an introvert. Like deep thinkers, we tend to be the counselor. We tend to be the guy that everybody wants to unload on. And if you read up about an INFJ, that's typically what they are, the counselor. Um, and probably for two reasons. One, I'm a really good listener because I'm quiet and I focus on the person. And also because I'll give advice. I don't just listen. I'll let you finish completely. And then when you're finished, I'm going to say, do you want my advice? And if people say, yeah, they're going to get a really blunt answer. I'm not going to sugarcoat. So it's an unusual personality type, and sometimes I wonder how people even like me. I got some really close friends that are very different than I am, and it's funny because guys like to bond around sports, and I don't do sports. I don't do, I could care less who's playing football. Um, guys like to get around, watch sports and drink beer. I don't care for beer. I think it's disgusting, we'll get into some of that later, but it's just me as an introvert. I'm okay being alone. I don't mind going to a movie alone. I don't mind, taking a walk alone. That's when I'm supercharged, is when I can think deeply, So it's funny. I'm kind of a chameleon. I've listened to a lot of people say, you don't seem like an introvert. A lot of people think I'm very bold. A lot of people think I'm very social interactive. What they don't know is that urge. It's funny because my wife is extremely extroverted. She loves social interaction. She feeds off of it. She would go to a crowd every night. But me, I want to be alone. And I'll go with her places. But a lot of times I want to take my own vehicle because she'll stay and she is always the last person there. I would be okay going out and sitting in the car and just being done. Because like I said, after an hour and a half, I'm done with people. And it's not a hate thing. It's just the introvert personality, The crazy part is, and this is where I want to go with this. The crazy part is it seems like the world is built for extroverts, and that can be very frustrating, When you're looking for a job, people always want a go-getter. They want someone who's self-motivated, someone who is social interactive, All the rewards are in social activity, we're going to go to a game, we're going to go we're going to have a party, that kind of stuff. And people want you to be great in a group setting, and they want you to be a leader, And a lot of those things are things I don't have any desire for. I work better alone. I'm not necessarily a leader. I actually was a youth pastor for a short time, and I figured out real quick, people don't follow me. I can be leading people out of a burning building. I can be like, come on, we got to go out the exit, and people will be like, I'm going to go follow this guy. And I don't know what it is. I just figured out real fast. I'm not the guy, I'm not the Moses leading people across the open sea, I'm just the guy that I joke a lot of times that I'm an NPC. But I'm perfectly happy being introverted. It took me a while, it took me a while to get to this point. And yeah, it can be frustrating. It can be frustrating when you're, when the world is built for extroverts, I feel like I thrive the most when I do jobs I can do alone. And, that's what makes me happy. We'll get more into some of those topics later. I do want to talk about sports because I know there's people out there who feel like I feel. And just some of the things that I deal with on a daily basis because of that. So today just wanted to talk about being an introvert and the things I enjoy and the things I don't like. Are you an introvert? Have you dealt with some of that stuff? Do you have a hard time in crowds? Tell me about it. Actually, here's a good question. What's the most difficult thing to you about being an introvert? And do you hate that you're an introvert, or do you love it? That's all for tonight. I'm Brian, and this is Completely Transparent.